Welcome to Consciously Inspired Minds, where we ditch the default and live life by design. I'm your host, Brandy White, personal growth enthusiast, entrepreneur, and lifestyle coach. I host conversations with creators, entrepreneurs, healers, and educators committed to living a life of truth, intention, and connection. Understanding how to discover their inner vision to design their outer world. Our guests take us on a journey of what it means to embody a life of conscious inspiration, joy, impact, and service. Get ready to be inspired. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Consciously Inspired Minds. I have my friend Kathy Oeder on today. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, Brandy. This is such an honor to be with you.
Oh, it's such an honor to have you here. I am really excited for this conversation today, and I have no doubt that our listeners are just going to be blown away by the way that you show up in life as a leader, as a mother, as a businesswoman, and a woman of community impact. So thank you so much. I'd love to introduce everybody to Kathy Oeder. Kathy is a lifelong resident of Warren County, Ohio. And Oeder's summers while growing up were spent working at a local farm and at the A&W Root Beer Stand owned by her father. While raising her two children, she was employed by the Trane Heating and Air Conditioning Company in the General Electric Appliance division. Eventually, she decided to become self-employed with Mary Kay Cosmetics and has remained with the company for 41 years. Incredible. Earning the title of senior director and receiving 20 cars, 10 of which were the prestigious pink Cadillac. Wow. Kathy, it's so impressive. And not only that, it doesn't end there, but as a prominent community activist, Kathy spearheaded the formation of the Hamilton Township Business Expo Group in 2012. Through her dedication, the first Hamilton Township Business Touch a Truck event, which was held, and the event is now in its 12th year with more than 5,000 annual attendees. And the list just goes on. And Kathy and I will get into more of, again, her community impact and how she's living a consciously inspired life. I recently met Kathy at a local Southern Warren County Chamber event. And I was just telling her before we hit record that I immediately knew we were going to be friends. and I have to tell you this story, Kathy, and maybe I've mentioned some of this to you, but I was on my way to my first chamber meeting. And of course, a little nervous because you don't know anyone and it's just kind of a new experience for me. And I walk in and you're one of the first women that I see. But before I walked in, I did notice your pink Cadillac in the parking lot. And I saw on your license plate, "Believe you can." Believe you can. And then, of course, and that resonates deeply with me because, of course, I'm a life coach and I host this podcast, and personal growth and human expansion is a deep passion of mine. So when I saw your license plate, I thought, that's so interesting. And it was such a great way for me to come into that event because I already felt like, oh, I'm in the right place. When I saw that, it was like, I took it as a sign. Like I took it as a sign that I'm exactly where I need to be. So as I walked in, I see you and I notice you're with Mary Kay, and I'm like, this is her. This is the woman with the license plate and the pink Cadillac. And then we just started chatting about the community and your involvement, and it was wonderful. And then every event since that first chamber event you've been at, and you've supported me. I spoke just recently at my first chamber event about this podcast and my coaching business. And not only you were there, but your husband was there, Richard, and he's just so kind. And you and Richard just have you're so approachable and have so much humility. And I'm just really excited for our listeners to get to know you today. So thank you for really embracing me when I walked into that meeting and making me feel like I belonged. And it was really a beautiful exchange. So thank you.
You are so welcome, Brandy. And it was definitely a pleasure to meet you. And I could tell from the beginning that you were very approachable and easy to talk to, and excited about your business and growing and learning and finding out about the Southern Ohio Warren County Chamber and what we have to offer. So that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So where I always like to start, Kathy, is a little bit about your childhood and how that has impacted who you are and where you are today. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. As you mentioned earlier, I've lived almost my entire life in Warren County. I think maybe 6 months outside of Warren County I lived, but other than that, I've lived entirely in Warren County. And my parents opening up an A&W Root Beer Stand when I was 4 was very impactful because, there were always people around and kids around, and it was just fun to have an A&W Root Beer Stand. I come from a family of people that work. My parents' family were farmers, and my father's father worked in the coal mines, and his father died when he was 17.
Oh, wow.
So have always had that good work ethic in our family that come from that generation where God designed man for work. And so, and I always have loved to work. So even as a little girl at that A&W Root Beer Stand, I had a 4-step little step stool that I would climb up on so that I could pour the root beer, because you have to pour it at an angle so it doesn't get all foam.
Ah.
And so I always did that. I always cleaned the bathrooms at the A&W, and just was always involved. When they'd get super busy, then they'd rush me to the back room to get me out of their way so they could zip through quicker, which always kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I wanted to be in the mix of all that working and all that fun going on. So I did that. And then I worked at, around our area of the country, there's a restaurant called Frisch's, and they had a farm north of Morrow, and they had kids from Cincinnati and from also the local camps come on tours. And so I worked in the cotton candy and pop and popcorn stand, making cotton candy and popcorn. And we gave tours, and sometimes I'd help with some of the tours. And so I think that was a great influence on me, having that to work there through high school. And so I have just always worked. I started working picking strawberries. We got a quarter for 6 quarts of strawberry. No, 50 cents for 6 quarts of strawberries is what we got paid. Child labor. Back in those days, they didn't have to pay you minimum wage.
Child labor. Amazing. So yeah, I think how did your family owning the A&W Root Beer Stand impact your entrepreneurial spirit today?
My family always had a business. My dad had a job. My mother worked at the school in the kitchen. She loved cooking, and so she was a cook in the school. And my dad, when I was little, was a civilian working at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And then when they did away with that, then he went to work for Dun & Bradstreet, and then he went to work as the postmaster in Morrow. So they were always involved in the community all the time. Having that A&W was, was just a way of life. That was a second job, so to speak, because they owned that business and did their other jobs. And so it just taught me that, when you start one thing, then you go to the next thing. And, they'd have to go down in the morning and open up the A&W and get everything started. And then they'd have mostly teenagers that worked doing, running the rest of it. And then we would close in the wintertime because it did not have an inside. It was just a drive up, park your car. A waitress would come out, put that tray on the side of your car that had the root beer and all of that stuff on it. And I would have to say my freshman year in high school, the first time I went to put one of those trays on the side of the car, even though I'd been there all those years, didn't even realize that bottom had to slide out first before you put the tray onto the legs of the window. And I kept lifting it, trying to get that thing to open. And I dumped 2 root beers in the lap of the driver of the car. And he was so kind. He jumped out of his car. I got towels to clean all of that up. But to my unfortune, there was a man at the red light that saw this whole thing going on. And he was the brother-in-law of my high school English teacher. And he never let me live it down that I did that. But the guy that it happened to never, ever brought it up.
Oh,
so,
bless his heart.
those things all make an impact on who you are and in what you've got going on. In the wintertime, when the A&W wasn't open, we sold Christmas trees. So we'd set up and sell Christmas trees.
Of the A&W, was it in the parking lot of the A&W?
Yep, in the parking lot of the A&W, we would sell Christmas trees. So that our family just always had a business going on. And before that time and during that time, my father also had a print shop in the basement of his house and of Al Braverman's house. And so, they were all the time printing signs, and my brother and I's job was to take the signs and lay them all over the basement floor to dry. They made T-shirts for the local baseball teams, and they'd make just any kind of sign. I don't know if probably most of your podcast members don't remember the signs that used to go down the road that were, they'd have these little sayings, and the last thing it would say was Burma shave. Okay. So my dad made that kind of signs for businesses around Morrow, and that it would have like Carol's Hardware or the Morrow Lumber Company or whatever business it had to do as an advertising thing. Okay. So the entrepreneurship, I think, is definitely in my blood because my parents always had another job going on. Right. Always.
Now, were your grandparents entrepreneurs as well?
My mother's parents were farmers. So farmers work all of the time. Sure. Farmers work all the time. They had cows, and they planted corn and wheat and hay and all that kind of stuff. So that, that's a 24/7 job when you're a farmer. So I always saw that going on. Yeah. And then, as I said before, my dad's father died when he was 17. So my grandmother worked at Butterworth Girl Scout camp as a cook. When I was a little girl, and it was a real treat. We'd get to go sometimes and spend the night with her in the cabin that she stayed with on the Girl Scout on Camp Butterworth, which is on the other side of Mainville, between Mainville and Loveland. So I'd get to do that. So I always saw good work ethic.
Yeah, sounds like it. Wow. This idea around community involvement and being of service and impacting the community, was that an intentional message in your family? Yes. Or was that sort of just like a byproduct of just coming from a lineage of farmers and hard workers, and that was just sort of a byproduct of working hard? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah.
I don't remember when my family wasn't involved in the community. Yeah. My father called bingo at the VFW from the time I was real little, and they all built the VFW in Morrow and all of that. And my mother always made pies to be sold at the bingo games, and they'd make barbecue and other things. So I always saw that going on. They were very involved in the PTO and all of those things going on. My dad helped start a group called Morrow of Tomorrow. And my grandfather was in the Masonic Lodge, and my great-grandfather was as well. So I always saw that Masonic Lodge, and my grandmother was in the Eastern Star. So I always saw those things as just things that you should do and be involved with. And so naturally, it came natural to me to be involved in all those things going on because my parents always were involved.
And so do you think that came from, I'm asking these questions because I'm always really curious. I know you and I were kind of talking before we hit record, and I was brought up not with a whole lot of strong leadership in my life. And I never really felt a sense of belonging anywhere, even in my family unit, my immediate family unit. And so it always amazes me when I am in the presence of people who are making so much impact and really find strong connection and belonging and community and have a passion for giving back. Because for me, I always felt very alone. Like I had to do everything on my own and it was all up to me to figure it out. And so I suppose I just have this deep curiosity around how to build this sort of awareness and this intentionality of giving back in a way that not just because we should, but because it feels aligned to our nature and it feels aligned to our truth and to our authenticity. Does that land when I say that? So how has your experience in the community and your community involvement connect with your truth and your authenticity? And then what you continue to do today to give back?
Well, I think in the Bible, it talks about to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I've always kind of fallen to that it's just our responsibility. If you're given, then you need to give in return. And so I think I've always looked at it that way. And then because of the example I had of my family being so involved in the community, so I just thought it was natural. And part of where besides the time I would do things at church, was to be involved in be a Girl Scout leader for my daughter. Whenever she got into Girl Scouts, got into brownies, I started being a Girl Scout leader and did that for several years, and then passed it off to my assistant leader and another lady to finish them up and take them all the way up to high school. But I'd been a Girl Scout myself. And so, part of that being a Girl Scout is that you learn that you're supposed to walk softly and leave no tracks, or exactly how that is said. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But anyway, I think that all those things have definitely been ingrained in me, that if you expect things to happen, you've got to be involved to get them to happen. And if they don't go the way that you want, then you can't really complain because you didn't get involved. And so,
interesting.
So I've always felt that, it was fun to be involved in the community, and it's fun to see things happen. And I've always wanted the children to have that kind of example. And I know that my children and my grandchildren are involved as well. And that is because of the example and me taking them and saying, okay, I got this and this on Saturday, I need you to help. Like whether it was touch a truck or treat and greet or anything that I was volunteering in, things going on here at Oeder's Lake, there's always work to be done, and nothing just happens. It all has to be done by people. And I think sometimes people think that they shouldn't do things that they don't get paid for. And there are so many more paychecks of the heart that you get by volunteering than you get by just showing up at an event. I mean, it's paychecks of the heart that matter. And I don't do those things because I'm going to be recognized for them. I do them because I think that you should.
Yeah. So can we be there for a minute when you had said, if you expect things to happen, you have to get involved? And I think also in today's day and age, I think that it's really easy for us to hide behind our computers and try to do everything online and try to make impact at our desk. And not to say that isn't true, but I think two things can be true. It's helpful and technology is amazing, but I also am a firm believer of getting out from behind your desk, getting into the community, being in the space and energy of others, looking someone in the eye in person. And there's just nothing like it. And so when you say that if you expect things to happen, you have to get involved, I think that I'm just not just realizing this idea, because I've always been aware of it, and I've always very much been someone who makes things happen in my life. I have an idea and I make it happen.
Good.
And I think that also comes from the doer in me. So I can very much be a doer, but I've also done a lot of doing by forcing. Even if it didn't feel aligned to me or in my truth, I would still pursue. And I think maybe it's more of like an ego thing too, where I was coming from as the older version of myself. But now I find myself living more in my truth and doing that more and more every day, and realizing what kind of spaces and places I want to be in, and where I want to make impact, and where I want to be of service. And then to your point, it's paychecks of the heart all the time, and things just start to unfold and miracles happen, and you're just kind of not, as I say, you're just kind of like in the flow of life, but it doesn't feel exhausting. I'm not burnt out. It's almost like this infinite level of energy I have in moments, because it's just fueling my soul so much, and how I'm getting involved and how I'm engaging and how I'm connecting with others. And I think that might take some time for some folks to sort of explore and understand what kind of spaces and places they really want to be in and how they can make the most impact. But back to this, if you're expecting things to happen, you have to get out and get involved. Can you tell me more about your perspective there, that if you want to make things happen, you have to get out and get involved? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think that to build relationships, it works a whole lot easier when it's face to face.
Yeah.
Face to face, knee to knee, whatever. It's easier to build relationships with people, and then find out more of what they're about and what their needs are. Because, it's great to be at our desks, but there's nothing like a real live conversation with somebody and seeing, what their dreams are, because we all have dreams, and God planted those dreams in you, and he expects for them to happen for you. He doesn't give us a dream that he doesn't want us to see come to fruition. And so, since I believe that so much, then when I get an idea of something, then I just run with it and take people with me when I'm on my way to making it happen. And it's like when the Touch a Truck thing was presented, and it was just like, okay, all right, we can make this happen. And from the very first Touch Truck event, it was a huge success. And to watch the faces on those children as they would climb on every kind of truck imaginable. Anybody had a truck, we would write down their phone number when you pass the truck, and then call them and ask them if they would bring their truck to our event so that kids could be on it. And then when you get right down to it, kids don't ride school buses because their crazy mothers take them to school as opposed to letting them ride a school bus. I don't understand that theory either. But, so we had school bus so that the kids could get onto a school bus, and they were excited about being on a school bus. I think if I'd have been one of those mothers that took my child to school and I saw how excited they were to be on that school bus, from that day on, they'd be on that school bus. I wouldn't have been taking them. Sometimes I think that today's mother and father protect kids too much and don't let them experience all the things, because that's how we grow. We grow from these experiences, from what we learn. And, from every event, everything that you do, if you take the time to say, what's my takeaway from this? What did I learn? Whose face did I see change because of this event? And just knowing that people need all those experiences. And I think that, I think you can get other people to buy in to any event that you want to pursue, like the cardboard boat regatta, when that event was first talked about. And I'm thinking they're going to make these little cardboard boats and they're going to put them out on our lake and they're going to float them around. And I'm thinking my husband and I could be very happy because they're going to eventually sink. And so then I finally asked how they were going to get the boats back off of the lake. And Dan Regner said, well, people's going to be in them. They're going to row them back. I said, people's going to be in those boats. They're made out of cardboard. But to look at that event and the success it has now had and the fun that people get putting a boat together. So any of these events that you do, just watching and reflecting on the things and the experiences that other people had with them. I remember the first year at the cardboard boat regatta, getting off of the boat and coming up onto the land. And this lady said to me, this is the most fun thing I've done all year long. And I'm thinking, you were sitting on the land. I was in the boat. How could this have been the most fun thing that you did? But it was. Yeah. And so, you have to be excited for other people's excitement and what they get out of the events that you plan, and being community involved and having just a small impact in some changing somebody's life or impacting their life. You never know something that you say or something that you do, how it's going to impact somebody else. Yeah. And a child, a person, and make a difference in their career, make a difference in their life and their happiness. And, we don't even know what we do for other people.
So powerful. And it's so true. Just this kind of brings up when you and your husband came to the chamber event and I spoke about my business and the podcast. And afterward, you had texted me a message and some very nice compliments that your husband had for me. That meant so much to me, Kathy, because in this world of being an entrepreneur, the days can be really hard and really doubtful and really uncertain. And sometimes it's just those kind words that you need, just some simple kind words to keep you going. And it's so true. Oh, it's so true. Coming back to what you said about when you have an idea, you just kind of run with it and you take people with you. How do you trust yourself to know that that idea is worth running for and worth taking people with you?
Some of us assume that people are going to buy into what you're excited about and go with.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty positive person. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not the greatest person to throw out well, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. I'm not a doom and gloom person. And therefore, I also don't sometimes even go there. When I think something will work, I just start telling other people about it and go with it. And I guess I also insulate myself from those doom and gloom people that don't think things can happen.
Yes.
Because I just make out my roadmap and run.
I love that. So, and that comes back to your license plate is believe you can.
Right.
Why did you put that on your license plate? Why that message?
Well, I felt like, I'd earned my first pink Cadillac with Mary Kay, and I felt like I wanted, for the first time in my life, to have a vanity plate. I'd never had one before. And so I was trying to think of something. And the honest truth is, if you don't believe you can, then you can't. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, one of my friends said that she thought that'd be a great license plate. And I thought, well, I looked at what some of the other people had and I thought, I think it's the right one, because you've got to believe it. And if you got to wear earplugs to stop the other people from being the naysayers and saying that you can't, I believe in positive affirmations. Mm-hmm. And so I've got a goal board, and my goal board always has my goals on it. And I put those things up there and I have it out where I can see it. I try to do those positive things. I've taken a piece of paper and I've written the positive things that I've done in my life and taped it on the wall in the bathroom so that when I would brush my teeth morning and night, I would say those positive affirmations, because the person that you have to convince the most is yourself.
Yes.
And so, and it's easy when negative things happen, when you don't see your goal happening, to get disappointed. And so I have always done the things that I could do, read positive books, put my affirmations up, said my affirmations out loud, because those are the things that are going to get me through when the naysayers and when that little guy sits on your shoulder and he says, so what makes you think you can? No, you can't. You can't do that. And so I have to drown him out sometimes.
And who introduced you, or where do you think this positivity comes from? And then these daily rituals of affirmations and books, and what are some of those tools? Where do they come from? Where did you learn those?
Well, Mary Kay has always taught all the positive things of doing your affirmations. And I mean, she was an amazing woman. She was an incredible leader. And Mary Kay Ash is recognized as the #1 business female entrepreneur in America.
Wow.
I think now that Oprah Winfrey has taken her position, but Mary Kay was the first woman that was recognized for that. And Henry Ford was the man that was recognized for that. And so Mary Kay always taught positive, always taught believing in yourself, always encouraged us to read. A man that I really, really like is John Maxwell.
Yes.
He has written many, many books. I love John Maxwell.
Books. Yes, I love John Maxwell also. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Cantrell is another one that I've enjoyed, as well as many others, but those are some of the ones that I've done a lot of learning on. I got John Maxwell's tape of the month, and I get that monthly and plug that in and listen to that. Mary Kay sales directors all make tapes. And so I used to have no idea what songs were ever popular on the radio, because I would get into the car and put my tape in. I hate it now that there's no tape player in the car. I think the car industry is just ruining us entrepreneurs and people that need this positive affirmations. So I have always done those things. Mary Kay has 6 most important things list. She always tells you to, before you go to bed at night, you write down the 6 things that you want to accomplish for the next day. And what the ones that you don't get done today, then you put them on tomorrow's list. And eventually you'll get them done, because you're tired of looking at going from one list to the next list. Because as human beings, we want to do the easy ones. We don't ever want to do the hard ones. And so after you move them a couple of times, then it makes you get them done and keep them on the list. And so there are just so many good tools that Mary Kay has encouraged us to use, and to do the positive affirmations, and to listen to positive speakers and read positive books, and just, always have that in front of you.
Wow. I had no idea. So Mary Kay is not only a leader of cosmetics and research and development of skincare, but it sounds like, Kathy, it's really been a way of life for you.
It definitely has.
Yeah.
Still today, when you call our corporate office and you get put on hold, they have Mary Kay's voice doing some of her positive affirmations, giving her life lessons. It's sometimes like, so I hope nobody answers. I just want to stay in this moment.
Wow. That's special. You know who she's reminding me of, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know anything about Mary Kay, so I'm interested to learn more today. But the essence of what you're saying is Louise Hay, who is the founder of Hay House, the publishing house. And so I'll put a link to Louise Hay in the show notes, but she advocates for positivity and affirmations, and then her publishing house, they support a lot of personal development and human growth and expansion, and And so that's who they publish, and spiritual growth, and it's incredibly inspiring. She's no longer with us, but yeah, it reminds me a lot of Louise Hay, Mary Kay. So, taking us into Mary Kay and sort of your journey there, and as you say, success is a journey. What brought Mary Kay into your life? And if you could tell us sort of what that journey of success has looked like and felt like for you these 41 years, I'd be so curious, because wow, the results and the leadership and the mindfulness and the life that you've created comes a lot, it sounds like, from your experience with Mary Kay and her teachings. Yeah.
It definitely does. Well, my sister-in-law became a Mary Kay consultant, and Sandy looked at Mary Kay because she needed a tax write-off, and because she and her husband both had good jobs and they needed a tax break. And so she came into Mary Kay so that she could have a tax break. And she immediately started talking to me about becoming a Mary Kay consultant. And I looked at her and said, Sandy, I can only do one thing at a time. Let me get divorcing your brother over with first. I mean, I couldn't imagine, when you're going through a divorce, it is a very all-encompassing part of your life. It just takes over everything. And truly, I did not think that she was going to sell lipsticks and cleansing cream. I just thought she's just doing this for a tax break. She's not really going to do Mary Kay. And so every month she would invite me to go to a workshop. And every month I'd tell her I'd go. And then the night before, when she'd call to confirm, I'd have some excuse for not going. And so finally, because I had told her I would go so many times, I said yes. I asked my parents if they'd watch the kids, and I went. And so, to my good fortune, it was at the Drawbridge Inn in Northern Kentucky, and there were 1,500 women. 1,500 women in that room. Well, I didn't know there were 1,500 women in Mary Kay worldwide. I mean, I didn't have any idea at all. I had used the products for about a year myself and loved them. I had always had problems with acne. And from the very beginning of starting on Mary Kay, it cleared up my skin, did more for me than the dermatologist and the prescription things that he had prescribed ever did for me to get my face cleared up and in good shape. And so I'd used the products for about a year, and I was so excited. I was going to become a Mary Kay consultant. I go home to pick up my children from my parents, and my mother said, Kathy, you cannot do one more thing. You've already got a full-time job, a part-time job. You're an elder in your church. You've got your Girl Scout troop. The kids are into softball, soccer, and school play and band, and you can't do anything else.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I really am busy. And then, and my dad said, and it's a pyramid. And we know some people that went to prison for getting involved in a pyramid. Well, that was not on my bucket list to ever go to prison for anything. So I thought, okay, I guess I better not do this, but I just can't believe all those nice people were involved in something that was illegal. So the next day when Sandy called me to ask me if I was going to become a Mary Kay consultant, I told her what my parents had said. And I said, is Mary Kay a pyramid? And she said, no. And I said, well, what is a pyramid? And so she started to explain it. And I said, Sandy, you call Frida, that nice lady, and you find out exactly what Mary Kay is. And you find out exactly what a pyramid is, and you call me back. So she called Frida, and she called me back. She explained everything. And I thought about it for a little bit longer. And I thought, it isn't my parents that need more money. It's me. I was getting a whole $35 a week child support for 2 children. And even in 1982, that wasn't enough money to put groceries on the table. And I needed more money. I mean, I was working for GE, but I just didn't make enough money to make ends meet. So I thought, I need more money. And so I thought, I'm going to do Mary Kay a few hours a week so that I could make additional income. And so I did. And, from the very beginning, if it was an extra $50 a week or $100 a week, it made a difference in my life to have that extra income being a single mom. And so I just continued to work it. My daytime boss told me that I needed to go to college. He'd been on me for a while about going to college. So I did. I signed up to go to UC. And so I will never forget, I was sitting on my bed doing homework on a Sunday afternoon. And I thought to myself, it's going to take me 10 years to get a 2-year degree and make more money. In 10 years, my kids
Raising a
would be out of
family.
college.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't, it wasn't going to really make any difference. It was going to be too late for me to make additional money. And so I thought, if I'll work my Mary Kay, I'll make extra money now. And that's what I need. And so I finished that quarter with school. And then I just told the kids, I said, okay, it's summer. We're going to take a vacation. We're going to have some fun. But this fall, when you go back to school, I'm going to work my Mary Kay business. And so I dedicated myself to having 1 or 2 or 3 appointments each week, whether it was a individual facial or if it was a skincare class with 3 to 5 people. So I tried to make sure I had that going on. And so it was fun. Sometimes I would buy donuts and take into work, and they'd say, well, what'd you buy donuts for? And I'd say, oh, I'm just having a great week. Because there were weeks I was making more money part-time doing Mary Kay than I was working at GE. And so I just continued to work it and build it. And in my working life history, I had worked for 4 companies that because of buyouts and mergers and layoffs, I had lost my job. Being a single mom, that was not a good thing. It was hard. I mean, you can't worry about not having a job. So when it happened after I'd started doing Mary Kay, I had already earned my first career card for Mary Kay. Doing Mary Kay about 10 to 15 hours a week, I was able to earn a career card.
And how long were you with Mary Kay when you won your first car?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. Yeah.
5 years.
But still,
that
just
1 year, remember, what?
Just part-time, 10, 15
just
hours
part-time.
a week. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And that 1 year I kind of took off where I went to college at night. So I really didn't do much Mary Kay that year. Then I was going to school. But I got myself dedicated to where I was doing 1, 2, or 3 appointments every week, whether it was taking a guest to a meeting to have a facial there, or I was going to her house, or she was coming to my house, or I was doing a party on a Saturday, or, 1 or 2, sometimes 3 appointments a week. And I was driving that career car. And so when I lost my job that 4th time, I vowed to myself that I would give myself the same thing I had given to GE and Trane and the other companies I'd worked for. If I would work for them 40 hours a week, I could give myself 40 hours a week to work for myself.
Yes.
And so I just did. I made sure that I was up every morning. We talked about routine. I was up every morning and at my desk, just like I would have to be if I was going into an office. And I would make phone calls. I, would book people. I'd pass my business card out anywhere I went and get new names, new contacts. I would ask for referrals. And so I just worked and continued. And so I became a Mary Kay director. See, I lost my job the 1st of June, and I became a director the 1st of April. Wow. I'd already earned my career card before that in September.
Not even a year later. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And you were having fun doing it. Yes, obviously.
Absolutely.
You were having so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Meeting people, having fun.
Yeah.
Building a business, developing the skills that you need, and just having so much fun that it just didn't matter because and I got, the nice thing is I could be at all my children's events because I would just schedule everything around them. They knew my schedule. We kept this up there was a board, kept it up on the board where I was going to be if they needed me. And I just worked it, had a blast doing it, meeting all kinds of people. You just meet people. People are fun.
People are so fun. I love it. I love it so much. It's my new favorite hobby.
People are fun. They are.
Yeah. Amazing. So here we are 41 years later, and you're still the senior director. And so running a team, can you tell us, and I had mentioned this to you earlier, with, of course, I think we've all heard of Mary Kay, but I'd really be curious to know, it's evolved, I'm sure, so much, but I think still very much in its heritage of its roots of
Yes.
what you say around affirmations and positivity, and coming from a place of yes and growth and opportunity and community. And well, two things. How has Mary Kay evolved in the way that you're presenting their products and their offerings? And then from there, I'd be really curious to know how Mary Kay has made you a better mother and community leader through their mission and purpose and products.
Mary Kay's mission is to enrich women's lives. And that is their power statement, and that's what they really focus on. But yet it is so much laid out, but it's not structured like when you work for other companies of this is all that you're allowed to do. Mary Kay allows you to have those dreams and do them in your time. There aren't any strict quotas. You build your business. I have people in my unit that selling the product is all they want to do. They want to do facials. It's so much fun to sit down with a lady and do a facial with her and learn about her and pick out the things that make her look good and feel good, because it's a real confidence builder. When you look good, your confidence is built. And so it's so much fun to do that with a lady and watch her go from plain to gorgeous and see how the products can change her. And so, Mary Kay does all this research to make sure that we have the best products available on the market today. We are the number one skincare around the world in the direct selling, and close to being number one in all lines of cosmetics. And when a lady starts on Mary Kay, she doesn't quit. She just keeps on using the product forever, because she can look at us and see. She can look at us and see our skin and what it's done for us. Yeah. Sometimes I grimace at the thought of what my skin would be like had I been left to doing all those things the dermatologist wanted me to do. There isn't anything like Mary Kay skincare. We, in Mary Kay, can pick out people that use Mary Kay in a crowd, because the skin just has a nice glow to it. It's healthy. Mary Kay does the research. We have all of our clinical solutions products, which are a cross between cosmetics and pharmaceutical products. And so we've got pure retinol. Pure retinol, not a calcification of retinol. We've got pure retinol.
Wow.
Which is
my girlfriend was just telling me about this the other day. She was like, you have to have retinol in your skincare regimen. It's a must. And so these just aren't things that I've done a lot of research on. And so she's kind of my go-to person, because she's all about the research. Thank you, Mary. But yes. Okay. So that's key. The retinol piece.
It is.
And the pure retinol.
It is definitely key. Yeah. It is definitely key. And, because Mary Kay makes products that are shipped to 35 countries around the world, they have to meet everybody's. In the United States, we call it FDA. In other countries, they call it whatever they call it. But they all have their own specific needs. And so, our products are all made in the Dallas, Texas area and shipped to these other countries. And so they have to meet that market's needs. For instance, like your Asian, Oriental people, their big desire is a porcelain look. They want to have that porcelain look, where the American women are all about wrinkles. I don't want wrinkles. I want to stop wrinkles. But so every market has their thing that they want. So going into these other markets has also helped them develop products that we need or their people, would like here as well. So we've got products to do. We've got 5 different skincare lines. So it isn't like one size fits all. So we've got all the different products for the different needs, everything from the acne products all the way to the time-wise Voluform repair products. We've got men's skincare products. So we have something for everybody. They brought out a new sunscreen, and the sunscreen meets the qualification requirements for every country that we're in. Wow. And that has to be a huge undertaking to be able to develop something that can be used in all kinds of markets and meet what they want. And they said like Hawaii probably has one of the strictest because they don't want things into the water, which sunscreen gets into the water that's going to harm the fish and all the.
Yeah.
So Mary Kay really does the research, and they grow some of the ingredients that they use in their products because it's hard to control what somebody else grows.
Where it's being sourced. Sure.
Yep. So they grow that. We've got products that are all natural, and there are 4 products in that product line. 3 of the products are 100% all natural, and 1 product is 99.4% all natural. Some things have to have a little bit of a preservative for them, just, because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Mary Kay really does the research. Mary Kay has a charitable foundation that Mary Kay herself started in 1996, and it's the Mary Kay Ash Charitable Foundation, and we raise money for 2 things. One is for research for cancers that affect women, and the other is abuse shelters.
Wow.
And so they've made videos about abuse and how to get out of those situations. We have these little compacts that have a phone number in them. And if somebody is in an abusive situation and they call that phone number, it will get them help. So they do everything to educate. They have built at abuse shelters across the nation, they've built gardens because they feel like people shouldn't just have to stay in a house. They should be able to go outside and be in a garden and have some of that healing that they need to go through. Mary Kay women are so great to volunteer and to donate things to the abuse shelters because it's so important to all of us. Doctors that do research for cancers that affect women can write for a grant, and they give away these grants. I think it's $180 million we have given since
of
1996.
Grant money? Oh my goodness.
So
wow. Incredible.
Mary Kay is a very giving company.
I had no idea.
Yep. Yeah, it's such a wonderful company. And then the education. Mary Kay always said that the education that you get in Mary Kay is equivalent to a degree in psychology because you're working with people. And and that's the best skill in the world to ever have, is to learn how to work with people. And so Mary Kay has always done so much teaching about the people skills. Mary Kay is recognized as the number 2 training company in America. The number 1 training company is Disney, and then Mary Kay is recognized as number 2 for training people. So,
wow, very impressive. I'm learning so much more about Mary Kay because, I think, again, we've all heard about Mary Kay, but it's so interesting to know their world impact.
Yes.
And so where can people, Kathy, learn more about your products and get connected with you to learn more? Are you still hosting parties, events? What does that look like? And where can people find you? Yeah.
I do still host parties. I still do events. Some of the fun things we do is we'll do Mary Kay bingos and we'll do brush clinics. And so those are great events to have every Monday night on Facebook at 8:00 Eastern Time on Classy Kathy's group. Classy Kathy's group.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Okay. Rhonda Mason and I do makeovers. We do something different every single week. Sometimes it's one of the skincare lines. Sometimes we'll do eyes. Sometimes we'll do lips. Sometimes we'll do body care. So every Monday night we teach something different. And so it's free. All you have to do is ask to join Classy Kathy group and pop in with us at 8:00. We give away Mary Kay products. We always do 4 drawings. And I always say that Facebook's privacy is to not, we can see, and you probably see this with your podcast, you can see that, 40 people listened, but you don't know who those 40 people are unless they make a comment on Facebook. And when they make a comment in the chat, that's how we do our drawings for the price of the products.
Yeah.
So if you want to win, then just put a little comment in the chat, and that's how your name can potentially get drawn to win a prize. My website is marykay.com/ K Williams 4.
Okay.
And then you can also download the Mary Kay app, and then it has a search for beauty consultants, and you can put in Kathy Williams Oeder and Morrow, Ohio, and that will pull me up, and then you can save me in there so that you can have me be your beauty consultant. You can also call me 513-720-0900. Happy to connect, happy to do a free facial, let you try the products. The facial is free. It's just how we show our products.
Fantastic. We'll put all of that in the show notes. Reach out to Kathy, get a facial. You deserve it. What is your most popular product? Or maybe the top.
Always there.
Go ahead. I was going to say even maybe the top 2 or 3, but if you have one, it sounds like you do.
Well, our skincare, and we have 5 different lines of our skincare are always the top. And then one of the other products that's just a single product that is a top seller is our oil-free eye makeup remover. And it is absolutely the best thing. We outsell the next best-selling brand of oil-free eye makeup remover 4-1. We sell 4 bottles before they sell their first.
Wow. And I'm always looking for a good makeup remover that doesn't feel real greasy and...
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's not greasy.
Okay.
It won't mess up your contact lenses. Yeah. It's an amazing product.
Great. Okay, beautiful. So we'll put all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Kathy, I also want to take a few moments to talk about Oeder's Lake and your husband, Richard. I have to talk about Richard. Such a kind man. And my family and I came to an event on your property at your lake and friends of ours a couple of weeks ago. And that was with the Miles Greenwood Historical Fire Apparatus Society, where you all host them to share their old and new fire trucks. And there was a medical helicopter that flew in, and your property is so beautiful. And I saw Richard driving around on his Gator around the event. And I had only formally met him at the chamber event the 2 of you came to support me at. And so as I was approaching him, I didn't know for sure. I had sunglasses on. I didn't know for sure if he would recognize me. And I kind of hesitated. And he waved. And he said, "Have you seen Kathy yet?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, bless his heart." And I'm like, "No, I haven't." And so anyway, he's like, she's don't ask me where she's at. But, and I introduced him to my family and my friends, and we were just making conversation. It was lovely. And so you all do some really amazing things on your lake and your property, and it's so beautiful. And then we also got a tour on one of the old fire trucks around your property. And my husband and I were just blown away. It's really incredible what you all have there. Can you tell us a little bit about you and Richard and what you all are doing on Oeder's Lake and sort of what your personal mission and purpose is there on your property?
Okay. Well, as a kid, we camped out at Oeder's Lake every weekend. As a kid, we camped here all the time. And where Richard's 7 years older than me, there was, nothing going on. I was one of the little kids running around, having fun and being here all the time. And then I was single for 27 years. Whenever I was doing the Mary Kay and all that, I was single for 27 years. And so Richard moved back here to help his parents. And so then we started dating a few years, like 5 or 6 years after he moved back. We started dating, which that had not been on my thought list. I never even had the thought. But we started dating, and we dated for a long time and then got married. We've been married 14 and a half years. And so a lot of some of the things that have been going on about Oeder's Lake have been going on for a long time, like the Model T cars and the Model A's. They have their picnics here. The horse-drawn carriage thing, they have a picnic here. So there are several events like that happen. And then we have a few events that are the really big events, like the Miles Greenwood was a big event. And then the police departments, I believe it's Hamilton Township and Loveland and South Lebanon's police department have their national night out here. And that is the second Tuesday in August. And that is an amazing event. The police departments really put on an amazing demonstration. They'll have like the police dogs and have, show how the police dogs, once that dog's got a hold of you, you are not getting away from. The dog has got you, and you better do whatever they've told you to do, because you're not going anyplace. And sometimes they'll have the little robot that goes over and looks in a car to see if there's anybody in a car before it opens up the doors and stuff. And then they give away the police badges and hats and coloring books and all kinds of education. A lot to teach children that the police is your friend. And you want to always respect them, but not be afraid to go to the police if you need the police. And so it's a wonderful event. And then at the end of the evening, Rosie puts off fireworks, and they shoot those off over the lake. So you get the beauty of the fireworks going over the water and see how the beautiful colors are. And so that's a really fun event. So that's the first Tuesday in August. And then the 17th of August is the cardboard boat regatta that we talked about earlier. Yes. And all of you people out there listening land, make a cardboard boat. It's one of the most fun things you will do in your life, and especially for the summer. I mean, it's just so fun. You have to be 8 years old to be in a cardboard boat, but they put buoys out on the lake, and they race, like 3 to maybe 5 different groups will race. And then they'll have the winners of all the different heats to figure out who the real winners of the cardboard boat regatta are. And then they will have a demolition derby at the end where everybody gets back out in their boat, and the whole goal is to sink everybody else's boat. So it is absolutely a fun. I mean, all you do is laugh and holler and tease, and it's just a wonderful event. It's so much fun. I mean, I really highly recommend that. And that's like 10 to 2 on August 17th. Mm-hmm. If you want information about it, just go to the Southern Warren County Chamber Cardboard Boat Regatta page. There's videos on there of how to make a boat. And there's videos of the races and the demolition derby and how much fun we have that day. They have food trucks here that day and bouncy houses. And it is just absolutely one of the most fun things you'll do all summer. And then in September, the second week in September, we have the Fort Ancient Valley Restored Farm Machinery Show.
Oh, fun.
And they bring all the antique tractors and all the antique farm show equipment, and they have tractor pulls and all kinds of fun stuff. They will also they have a kiddie tractor pull. So if you're in that range of like 5 to 8, I think it is, then they'll have tractors that those kids can race. And then they'll have an adult. They have one for women and one for men, and they have made some equipment that they let them pedal, do a pedal tractor.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do this.
So they have that going on. So it's fun. They have food trucks. They have just all kinds of fun stuff going on. There's booths there that you can go around, check out all the booths, and that's just a real fun thing. So that's some of the things that we donate our property to. Most of the events that are here are free events. Now, the farm show does cost $5 to get into, but that is just to fund the money that they spend to put the event on so that you can come and have a fun day. But the cardboard boat regatta is free. Now, it does cost to enter your boat in a race, but otherwise, and that's also a great time for entrepreneurs to be able to advertise, because if you make a donation to support the cause, then your name will go onto the advertising. So there's a little bit of an advertising up, chance there.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great.
Yep.
Oh,
so that's
so many fun things. Stuff. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I know when you and I met, it was funny because, and I told you this story, that my daughter's friend had mentioned a cardboard boat regatta to me just maybe a couple of months before you and I met. And I'm like, cardboard boat? What is it? You make a boat out of cardboard? What? And so she's like, it's
that's
so
what
much.
I thought too.
Yeah. And then I had heard it or seen it somewhere else. And then when you and I met, I saw the signage on the table when I got to the event, and then come to find out it's at Oeder's Lake. And I'm like, okay, I've got to do this cardboard boat regatta. Like, I get it, universe. I got to be here. So not only will I be there with my family and we'll be doing the boat, but I'll be volunteering for the event as well. And I'm happy to support that in any way I can.
Right.
Kathy, you know that. And so, and of course, any of the events that you have on your all's property at Oeder's Lake. So it's really beautiful. And I have to tell you, when we went to the Miles Greenwood historical event, we took our friends of ours, and they have a son. He's 5. And I mean, he was just
I bet.
like living his best life that day. So it was, it was really incredible. And I just also want to call attention to Kathy, you and Richard, and also your involvement with, you had won the Woman of Distinction Award at Trane University. And I know Richard has been recognized at Trane University as well. And what an honor I can imagine that was in 2019 for you. And what I had read was the video that they had kind of curated for you of your life experience. And I can only imagine how emotional and so many things I'm sure running through your mind and your heart in that moment. And then Richard's contribution, I believe there was a road named after Richard as Oeder. And so can you tell me a little bit about your passion for Trine University and your all's involvement there?
Well, I had certainly never even heard of Trine University whenever I started dating Richard. And it used to be called Tri-State University. And they wanted to have something that was more definable, because every state that has 3 states go together have tri-state air conditioning, tri-state heating, tri-state plumbing, tri-state whatever. So they wanted a name that was more recognizable. And so they came up with the name of Trine, and that was named after some people that were very involved and had given lots of money to the university. And so they named it after them. And it's at Angola, Indiana, which is right up where Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan meet. And it is absolutely an amazing university. It is so worth checking out and looking at. They are just in the process of finishing up a $42 million building that is going to be for health science at Trine University. And it's actually on the campus of Parkview Hospital. And Richard and I got to have a tour when we were up there in May, and it isn't finished. It's supposed to be finished like real quickly, because they're going to start having classes there. And anybody that's interested in going into health science, into physical therapy, into any of those nursing programs, oh my gosh, what a great place to get started. Trine originally was mostly an engineering college. And that's the reason that my husband went, was to become an engineer. And so that was what he went, and that was their big thing. They still had teaching degrees and business degrees and all those other things, but the big highlight was the engineering. And they have had such incredible leadership. And, we all know it's all about the leadership, just incredible leadership that has been able to get people to donate money, so that they have been written up twice in U.S. News and World Report because their students graduate with the least amount of debt. Now, that's an amazing thing to be written up about in U.S. News and World Report. But they do so much to go out and get people to donate money, so that there are just tons of scholarships. Every kid practically gets a scholarship. And they just work so much on that because they want everybody to have a great education. It is the fastest growing university in the state of Indiana. And unfortunately, there have been many, 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 many universities all across the United States that have closed in the last several years because it's such a competitive field and they just can't make it. But Trine does so many things to keep their university going. They have built so many new buildings, and most of the buildings, they had the money completely there to pay for them before they ever even started construction of them.
Wow.
And they have it is so amazing. Richard has served on the board at Trine for 20 some years. And like I said, I never even heard of it, but they do so much good. The people are so nice. And I, a lot of times, will just stop a student in the hallway and ask them, where they're from, what they feel about trying. And the students absolutely love it. I think one of the things I think about is when kids go off to college, especially when they've gone to a smaller high school, and all of a sudden they're put into an Ohio State or a UC or one of these big universities
it's overwhelming.
with, 100,000 students.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. And they go to trying and they are somebody, somebody cares. In fact, there have been many times that a student didn't show up at classes for a few times, and somebody goes to visit them and find out, what's going on. Are you homesick? Did you break up with a girlfriend? Is there anything we can help you with? Are you unhappy? What's going on? And that never happens in a large university.
Coming back to this whole sense of belonging, coming back to this feeling of belonging, being seen, being heard, feeling like you matter in this world of technology and sitting behind the desk, sitting behind the computer, and less personal engagement. This is so critical. And I think this is why I continue to live my life where I am making it a point to be in the space and energy of other people, to hug, to touch, to make eye contact, to just understand, and really focus on the empathy that I think is really lacking today. And so all of that is so beautiful to me and so needed. So
it is.
Fantastic.
And when they recognized me for the Woman of Distinction, I had no idea at all that I was being recognized. And, you talked about the video that they had. I looked up and saw this little girl on the screen and I thought, well, that looks like me. And then the next picture, I thought, well, that looks like me too.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this is me. And I absolutely was blown away. And I said to them, there are so many more people that are so much more deserving than me. I mean, I come up a few times a year to do what I can do. And they made it very clear that it was not just for what people did for Trane University, but they recognized for what you had done in your own community as well. I was absolutely so touched. I just had no idea in the whole world. And it was just, overwhelming to think that I was being chosen for that. And then they asked me if I, wanted to speak at the microphone, and I did. And after I got off stage and the event was over, a man came up to me and he said, "You knew that you'd gotten this." And I said, "Oh no, I didn't have any idea." He said, "You gave that talk and you didn't have any idea?" And I looked at him and said, "That was my Mary Kay training."
Oh.
So I feel so blessed for the opportunity that Mary Kay has given me to learn to be a good public speaker.
Yes. Wow. It's one of those moments where it all starts making sense, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you don't mind, I'm going to read something that Trane University said about you in this article. And I think all of our listeners deserve to hear it. And you deserve to be acknowledged for it.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Kathy truly exemplifies being beautiful inside and out. She radiates a warmness that makes everyone feel welcome and immediately in the company of a reliable, fun, and spunky friend. Trane University, the Trane University's president had said that, "We are truly better for knowing Kathy because of the way that she cares for and treats others, in her commitment and dedication to her family, work, friends, community, and to Trane University, all while living a life of faith. Kathy has helped enrich the lives of all those in her community and for the students, alumni, and employees here at Trane." I told Kathy before we started recording today, I'm like, I Googled you just to find whatever I could find. And I I come across this beautiful article, and it was so impactful, and it brought me almost to tears. It was hand to heart. Just, I'm so honored to have you here. And I'm so honored to have you tell your story, to share your journey of success and the truth, the intention, the impact, and the service you provide to our community and the world. So thank you. Thank you, Kathy, for being you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, when you want to do stuff for other people, it's easy. It's very easy. And I've always had such a supportive family. You know, I've got a son and a daughter and 3 stepchildren and 11 and a half grandchildren. And so it's fun to have part of everybody's lives.
And what you're modeling for all of us and that generational change. So thank you. Yeah. And I'm excited to learn more about Mary Kay. And I'm going to be joining that Facebook group. And I encourage everyone to do the same. So we will, everything that we've talked about here today, from Mary Kay to events at Oeder Lake to the Southern Warren County Chamber, we will post all in the show notes. So I encourage you to connect with Kathy and get some Mary Kay product.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for being here, Kathy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time. Bye-bye. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you'd like to learn more about Consciously Inspired Minds, you can visit us at consciouslyinspiredminds.com. If these episodes have you wondering how you can design a life uniquely inspired by you, head on over to modelifestylecoaching.com. That's MODE lifestylecoaching.com and schedule a free call. I'd love to learn more about your deepest desires and how we can get you closer to your authentic life vision and impact. Until we connect again, explore what inspires you.